Today's experience was sent to us by Officer Diana Anoiled. She died and found herself in hell. God revealed to her something so important that everyone, especially Christians, needs to hear. No part have been added, nothing have been removed. Hello Heavenly Connect. My name is Diana Anoiled. On the 12th of July 2013. I remember that night all too well. My team and I prepared to confront the notorious gang that had been terrorizing the neighborhood. We had received a tip about their meeting place in an old, dilapidated warehouse on the edge of town. We moved in silently. I signaled for my team to spread out and take their positions. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the silence, a stray cat knocking over a trash can perhaps. But that brief distraction was all it took. The gang members sprang from the shadows, weapons drawn. Chaos erupted in an instant. Gunshots rang out, flashes of light piercing the darkness. I took cover behind a stack of wooden crates, returning fire when I could. Amidst the turmoil, I spotted a figure aiming directly at one of my partners. Without a second thought, I broke cover to draw the gunman's attention. "Police! Drop your weapon!" I shouted. Before I could react, a sharp, burning pain tore through my side. I looked down to see blood seeping through my uniform. My legs weakened and the world around me started to blur. I fell to the ground. As I lay there, a strange calm washed over me. My vision dimmed and the cold began to creep in. I tried to move, to call out, but my body no longer responded. Then, everything went black. Moments later, or was it hours, I found myself standing upright. The pain was gone. Relief washed over me until I glanced down and saw my own body lying motionless on the ground. Paramedics were frantically working over me. A realization hit me: I was outside of myself, an observer to my own fate. I watched as they attempted to revive me, shouting commands and administering aid. But I knew it was late. A profound sense of disbelief and fear took hold. This couldn't be happening. I took a step back, and as I did, a force began to pull me away from the scene. The edges of my surroundings started to blur, and the sights and sounds of the world faded into the background. As the world around me faded, I felt an invisible force dragging me, pulling me away from the scene of my death. I had no control over my movements, no way to resist. Everything went dark for a moment, and when I opened my eyes again, I was standing in a place I didn't recognize. It felt as if the very atmosphere was weighing down on me. The sky above was a dull, sickly gray, and the ground beneath my feet was rough, almost jagged, like it had never been touched by light or warmth. A sense of dread crept into my soul. This place wasn't like anything I had ever known, somewhere beyond the world I left behind. I looked ahead and saw two roads. One was broad and stretched endlessly, far beyond what my eyes could follow. From where I stood, it looked horrifying. The atmosphere along that path was dark, chaotic, and the further I looked, the more I could feel the terror that lay ahead. People were being drawn to it in droves, as if something irresistible was calling them. The other road was narrow, almost hidden. Unlike the broad one, this path seemed peaceful, bathed in a soft, faint light. The air there seemed clearer, even inviting, but something was unsettling. It was nearly deserted. I saw just a few souls, far fewer than I could count on one hand, walking slowly toward that peaceful road. In contrast, on the broad road I saw thousands. Every moment, more and more souls were turning to follow the dark, foreboding path. My heart sank as I realized how imbalanced it was. For every 1,000 that took the broad road, only one, sometimes none at all, chose the narrow one. It became terrifyingly clear that it wasn't up to me to choose. This place had its own rules, its own system, and I was no different from the thousands being drawn toward that broad, horrifying path. My feet, as if controlled by something beyond me, began to move in the same direction. I tried to resist, but it was useless. My legs moved on their own, and I was pulled along with the countless others toward the broad road. The sensation was overwhelming, like I was caught in a current too powerful to fight. There was no escape, no way to turn back. As I stepped onto the path, a deep sense of dread washed over me. The road stretched out before us, vast and endless, its surface cracked and broken, yet no one faltered. We all moved forward in a steady, inevitable march. The air grew heavier with every step, thick with a foreboding presence. I could hear distant cries echoing from somewhere far ahead, but they were faint. As we drew closer to the end of the broad road, the air was filled with the agonizing cries of souls awaiting their fate. I could hear them, clear as day, confessing their sins in desperate voices, hoping for mercy that would never come. The first was a woman, her voice trembling with sorrow. She revealed she was saved in 2009, she gave her life to Jesus, and for years she was faithful. But she fell away. She drifted into sin, and though she knew it was wrong, a pastor told her she didn't need to worry, that her salvation was secure. She believed him. She never turned back, never repented. Her voice broke, and I could feel the weight of her regret as she continued. She thought I was safe, but she was wrong. Next came a pastor, filled with bitter remorse. He confessed that he served as a shepherd for many years, leading others in faith. But envy crept into his heart. He saw the success of his members, their wealth, and it consumed him. He let hatred fester until it was all he could feel. He hid behind his position, pretending to be righteous, but inside he was lost. His words were filled with pain as he admitted, he never realized how far he had strayed from God's path until it was too late. Then, a young woman, barely out of her teens, spoke up, her voice tinged with disbelief. As she thought she had time. She wanted to enjoy her life, have fun, and repent when she was older, maybe at 30. She told herself she will get serious about God later, but she never made it. She didn't realize how short life could be, she thought she had time. She thought she had time. Each confession was a stark reminder of the choices they had made, choices that had led them to this terrible end. And with each one, I felt the weight of my own decisions pressing down on me, knowing that my time was coming. Then it was my turn. The weight of everything I had done, and failed to do, pressed down on me. A voice, firm and unwavering, spoke directly to my soul, revealing the truth of my life. I realized at that point, one don't have option than to begin confess his wrongs. I was lukewarm, the voice said. I claimed to believe in Jesus, but I never truly sought him. I was indifferent to the things of God, living without conviction. I never took my word seriously, never gave my heart fully to him. I stood there trembling as my life was laid bare before me. I had gone through the motions, showing up at church now and then, praying when it suited me, but I had never truly committed. My faith had been empty, a hollow shell of what it should have been. I had ignored every call to draw closer to God. My voice revealed how I have arrested Christians who preach the gospel. I called their preaching a public disturbance, and in my pride, I silenced those he sent to speak his truth. They proclaimed the gospel, and instead of listening, I put them in handcuffs. I could feel my heart sink, a deep regret washing over me. I had mocked and scorned those street evangelists, dismissing them as nuisances, disrupting the peace. I never stopped to consider their message or the urgency behind it. I was dragged forward, my fate sealed. Before I knew it, I was plunged into a place of unimaginable horror. The heat was suffocating, and the air was filled with the cries of those enduring torment. Everywhere I looked, there were souls in agony, writhing under the relentless grip of their suffering. It was a sight I could barely comprehend, yet I couldn't look away. I saw men and women, old and young, being tormented without mercy. Their faces were twisted with the pain, their eyes filled with terror and regret. It didn't matter who they were in life, now, they were all the sassa condemned to endure an eternity of suffering. What struck me most were the children. When Avern there too, crying out, though I couldn't understand why. They were scattered among the adults, enduring the same torment. The sight was unbearable, but there was no escape from it, no relief from the endless, overwhelming despair that surrounded me. This was hell, and I was now a part of it. Demons descended upon me with cruel intent. Their touch was like fire searing through my soul. They began to tear at me, pulling and clawing, each sensation more unbearable than the last. The torment was unlike anything I had ever known, unrelenting, with no hope of escape. I could hear their guttural laughs, mocking my pain, and I knew this was only the beginning. Just as the agony reached its peak, everything stopped. The world around me began to blur, and suddenly I gasped for air. My eyes flew open, and instead of the burning pit, I saw bright lights above me. I was lying in a hospital bed, my body drenched in sweat. Machines beeped around me, doctors and nurses rushed in, and I realized I had been brought back from the brink of hell itself. My encounter brought me closer to God, and it was the best decision of my life. The torment I had witnessed, the agony of countless souls, was a warning, a call to all who claim to follow God. To all Christians, I urge you, serve God with true sincerity. Do not be like me, living a life of lukewarm faith and false security. It is not enough to merely go through the motions, to show up at church or recite prayers without meaning. God demands a genuine, wholehearted commitment. The dangers of a lukewarm faith are real and severe. Don't be deceived by false assurances or the comfort of routine. Your eternal security is not guaranteed by mere labels or past decisions. It is determined by your daily walk with God, your true repentance, and your earnest devotion. Embrace your faith with sincerity, seek a real relationship with God, and heed His calls to righteousness. Do not wait until it's too late, for the consequences are far beyond what any of us can imagine. Thank you for staying to the end of this experience. Save a soul by sharing this video with your friends and families, so that they will be saved from the path of hell. Subscribe to our channel if you have not, to remain updated whenever we share another experience that is being sent to us. Thank you.